I feel like when we're playing the lesser teams after a good win, I felt like we turned into individuals, not so much as a team.
In today's show, Luke Ryan reveals the turning point of Fremantle's season, and we take an early preview of Saturday night's big final in Perth. Welcome to the West Sports Show. We are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Cod, Craig O'Donoghue joins me as usual on a Tuesday. We got the rubbish week out the way, right? The lack of momentum week's out the way. It's finals time. Are you excited?
You know what, Quarters? I can smell finals.
Oh, can you? What is?
Yeah,
what
the smell of freshly cut grass. The sun was out. All of the good things about footy happen right now. Before the game's played, you can feel the atmosphere. You can feel the weather change. You can see the grass looking different. It's just a great time of year. Everyone's full of hope. And then in a few days' time, we'll have some genuine buzz, and then there'll be some people who are absolutely devastated, and then the buzz will build again. It's a great time of year.
You've been busy. You've been down at Fremantle, and been some interesting stuff said about the turning points of the year. But let's have a listen to Jordan Clark first right now.
Started with JL, sort of being pretty, honest and transparent with the group, and said if you want to be treated like men, start playing like men. And that's been our sort of mindset ever since. And I do recall Lukey Ryan and Fifey getting up, and Sonny, when he was still part of our group before he retired, speaking quite honestly and openly about how they see it and what they're probably not going to stand for, and what, and we were quite a inconsistent football team, whether we liked it or not. And, and since then, I think everyone's sort of bought in, and, from the top down, everyone sort of had to look inward at themselves and see if they were really actually giving 100% or being their best self.
So we'll get to Luke Ryan in a moment. You've sat down, done a one-on-one with him. We're going to play that in full, okay? So what do you make of this? It feels like they're embracing the hype.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was referring to post the St Kilda game when they lost by 10 goals. And one of the reasons I spoke to Luke Ryan was about that, because Jordan Clark had mentioned that he was so influential with what he said that day. And that has changed their entire season. They've been an amazing team since then. They were an inconsistent team before that. And they will now go into Saturday night in a home final against Gold Coast as clear favourites. They'll expect to win.
Sold out,
massive crowd. And they've got momentum behind them. They were fantastic against the Western Bulldogs in that game to make sure they made the finals. And they are a bona fide footy team at the moment. And it's all based upon the ability to look each other in the eye after that game and say, that is no longer what we're going to stand for. We are going to be a different team. And it's amazing how premierships or finals campaigns are often built off the back of the conversation. You have the big conversation where everyone's honest, they tell it like it is, and then it turns, and that's exactly what's happening.
There's always a TP. There's always a turning point. The West Coast Eagles in their first year went down to Tasmania and played against Fitzroy and got beaten. And post-game, Mick Malthouse just let the players have it out in the room for about half an hour. And Carl Langdon always talks about how he was reduced to tears because they basically pointed out a few facts to a few players in there, and that turned their season around. So there's always a turning point.
The Gary Ablett conversation back in 2006, where Geelong sat him down and said, "You don't train hard enough. You could be our best player, and you're not because you don't have a crack at training," and that changed them as well. So it's always a big conversation, and if you've got the courage to say what you think, and the people in the room then have the balls or the wherewithal to listen and do what is said and follow through on it, you can change the course of history. And that's exactly what's happened. And the Luke Ryan interview, which we'll hear from shortly, Luke Ryan isn't in the leadership team. He's a happy-go-lucky footballer, and he's a guy who came in as a mature age player. When he talks, people listen because he doesn't say much. So it's those guys who change it, because you always hear from Alex Pearce. If you're inside Fremantle, you always hear from Caleb Sarong and Andrew Brayshaw. It's when that guy in the back of the room pipes up and says, "Hang on, I've got something to say," and you go, "Oh, we'll listen to this guy." And if he follows through with himself, then it changes everyone else's perspective on the season.
I love Luke Ryan as a footballer. Always looks, and I mean this respectfully, always looks like he's wandered in from the local park just to have a kick with the AFL team.
Yeah.
But then he gets out in an AFL field and he's elite. So, look, without further ado, let's play the interview and have a chat about it afterwards.
Luke, thanks for joining us. Finals. What does it mean to you?
Thanks for having me. I don't know what it's an exciting time of the year, really. Everyone plays to be in this situation, and the weather's good. Looking forward to playing some good footy against some good opposition.
So I look at you as someone who's been on the whole journey as part of this rebuild. You arrived at the very start at the same draft as Sean Darcy and Brennan Cox. So how do you reflect on this journey as a clubman rather than just a teammate?
I've obviously grateful to Freo to give me that opportunity, but we've had our ups, we've had our downs, but I've loved every minute of it. The club's grown in so many different areas. It's not so much a club now; it's more like a family. How close everyone is, the connection is, and played finals a couple of years ago, and then we lost a few players, and then we gained a few players, and now we're a young, energetic side whose the connection's so strong, and the coaching staff is so close with everyone, and I'm just real proud of what the club's turned into.
You're one of the unique guys who is the energy guy in a team, but you can also be very serious when it matters. So how do you balance the two?
I guess I've sort of been here long enough now. It's been 9 seasons. Those people say they see me as a leader, but I'm not in the leadership group, which I don't want to be in the leadership group. I just like sitting out on the outside. But I guess that's with everyone. The club gives you confidence to speak up. Joe and Jay always back me in to say what I need to say, and I guess you just know when the time's right to speak up and have a laugh. As much as I love to have a laugh, and whenever we need a bake, someone's got to do it. Sometimes it's the leaders, sometimes it's not the leaders, and just got to find the right time. But as you sort of know, as when we're such a close group, you know when we need that.
So Jordan Clark actually named you. He specifically mentioned you speaking to the group after the St Kilda loss midway through the year. We know you're not someone who speaks a lot, but that was a key moment clearly for this team, and what you said resonated with them. Why did you want to speak then, and what was the core of your message?
I feel like when we were playing the lesser teams, after a good win, I felt like we turned into individuals, not so much as a team. I won't go into the full thing of it, but it wasn't just me. Clarkey actually spoke up as well after me, and a few other leaders did as well. But I felt like, we just went too much of an individual, not so much a team, and tried to play some fancy footy, pretty footy, when we're not really a fancy team. We're a real down and under, dirty team, wants to get dirty, physical, all that sort of stuff. And we went away from that few times early in the year, and I sort of said, we're not really like that. The club's not really like that. So, put our fingers down and really get down and do it and get to work. And I think everyone bought in on that and everyone agreed. And it was a real honest conversation. It got us where we are today, I guess.
So when you say something like that and you call for the team to be more team-oriented, you have to live that mantra yourself. And this year we have seen that you've changed your role. You've been a bit locked down at times. You've played on smalls rather than talls. You haven't had the ball in your hand as much. Were you conscious of the need to walk the walk after you had talk the talk?
Definitely. I've always been whatever the team needs. I couldn't care if I walk off with 5 touches, average 5 touches. As long as we win and we're playing finals, I could not care. I sort of said it. So, like you said, I did have to hold myself to account, and Clarkey as well, and Clarkey's having an unbelievable All-Australian season. So, you got to put yourself in those situations, but that's what makes us footballers, and those are the positions we like to be in, and I wouldn't change it.
How have you found that change in role? Like, you started the year on Patrick Dangerfield, which was unique, and then you've had guys like Willie Rioli and Jamie Elliott, and you spent some time on Cozzy Pickett at one point. So it's not what you're known for. Have you enjoyed that challenge?
Sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. Sometimes I've got my ass kicked, which is fair enough. But I don't mind it. I've played tall a couple of weeks. I've played small. Lockdown. Sometimes I've set 150 metres off the ball from playing on Jamie Elliott. That's how much length he holds. And I don't mind. I'll learn new things off different players and watch different vision and work with Twig very closely. And I've enjoyed it. I've had my challenges. I've had some good battles. I've had some bad battles, but that's part of footy. And I love it. And it's going to be another challenging one this week.
Gold Coast this week. Who do you prepare for against the Suns?
Not exactly sure. We'll read more into them tomorrow, but I think last time I played on Long, and he's been in unbelievable form as well. So whoever it is, I'll have my hands full.
So we're not accustomed to seeing you on these sorts of guys. As I said, Ben Long potentially this week and Jamie Elliott and Willie Rioli. When you've got your new assistant coach in Jade Rawlings asking you to do this role, how did you feel when he first floated it with you?
Yeah, I was sort of happy, open-minded. Like I said, whatever the team needs. If I need to play tall, small, hybrid, play up high, play wide, I'll do it. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been, like I said, it's been challenging, but no, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what it can do for the rest of the year.
And you obviously had to learn the differences compared to what you've done in the past. Who was the one who was responsible for teaching you that sort of stuff?
Yeah, obviously the backline coach, JL, Tendai Mazungu, lead into those guys, and then just guys out in the field who I'm playing with, Carl Warner, Clarkey, and just we all teach each other, read off each other, and get feedback during the game and what's not working and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just ongoing progress.
You're such a tight back seven. You've been together for a long time. Some of your best mates are in the back line. What's it like knowing you're about to go out there with this sort of chemistry and play in a final together?
Yeah, I love it. I love the backline group. We're a different group. Everyone wants to be in the back line now. I've got Belly Banfield down there, Cooper Simpson. Everyone wants to come down there. But no, we are so close, and we know when times to have a laugh and when to be serious. But yeah, I love the group, what we're building down there. We've got so many guys that could be playing in any other team as well. Josh Draper waiting, James H, Cooper Simpson. So there's a tough selection of spots, but what we're building is so good, and everyone's bought in, and it's a good place to be.
So Alex Pearce was here when you arrived. Brendan Cox came at the same time. So it's around a decade you've all been together. When it's really tough, like in the Collingwood game when you're under siege, is that the time when you can look over your shoulder and go, I trust these guys, I know them really well, and I know exactly how we're going to get through this? Yeah,
definitely. Moose is a captain. He leads us in a certain way, and myself, Brendan and Clarkey are probably the other leaders with Aishi, and we all lead in a different way, and everyone buys into that. And yeah, Moose is obviously our captain, but we've been around long enough, and when he's been out, other guys had to stand up, like Jordan Clark did, Oscar McDonald did. So we're in a good space at the moment, and yeah, it's a good part to be a good backline to be a part of.
Cox is obviously the one for you. You two are best mates. If you guys get to go all the way and experience a premiership, what do you think it would be like to win one with someone like him?
Yeah, definitely mean the world. There's no other bloke I'd like to win a flag with than Coxie. So it'd mean a lot to us and a lot to the community, and all the stuff we've been through and 9 years played together for, and it'd just be a special moment. But every game's special. Run out there playing any sort of footy with your best mates it's always a good day.
And then there's Nat Fyfe, who we will see in Perth for the last time this weekend. We all hope he's got 4 games to go. He was at his peak when you arrived. Like, what's he taught you as a player? What's it been like to be his teammate?
Oh, I don't know where to start, really. I reckon he's the greatest Fremantle player of all time, one of the best AFL players of all time. And when we first got here and used to watch him train, well, when I was training as well, but you were literally just there watching him. It was unbelievable. He used to kick the ball to him 1-on-3, 1-on-2, and somehow he'd mark it, if not 50-50 it. And just the amount of work he puts in his body in the gym and does different exercises like stretching, going and seeing different doctors, all these different things, and what he puts into his body and the amount of money and time is unbelievable. I'll never see anyone like it. And just the way he leads on the field, but also off the field, and the way he talks is so smart and talks about his family and the club is just a great club and a great mate. And yeah, it's been a privilege to play with him, and hopefully we can win one more for him, a couple more.
He was genuinely the best player in the competition when you got drafted. You would have seen him at his absolute peak. Were there times when you looked around and went, how does anybody play as well as this guy is?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you can ask any player that played on him in those times. No one could stop him. I remember a few times he's come down to play full forward and I've had to play on him as a defender, and I had no chance. I literally just gave up, really. I could not stop him. There's no way. I tried sitting in front, behind, body work. I've tried everything, but I just couldn't beat him or even half it. And it was just it was a real privilege to play against him and also train with him and play with him. And yeah, he's just a superstar of the competition.
You're going to have the Purple Army behind you on Saturday night, 58,000 people. Like, what's it going to be like going out onto that oval and knowing that the grandstands are packed with people who are there just for you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It gives you goosebumps thinking about it. It was like the time when we played the Doggies in that final, and Yeah, I'm pretty sure the tickets sold out pretty quickly, and I've got family coming over, and I just can't wait. It's just such a good buzz, and yeah, the Purple Army is a different breed. They're real loud. They get the Freo chant going. Even in Eddie had when we were playing against the Bulldogs, the Freo chant was going before the game even started. I think we had more fans there, so they travel well, and yeah, we love them, and they're an extra man on the field, that's for sure.
Well, good luck. Thanks for joining us. Really hope it goes well for you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
As a proud major sponsor of the Fremantle Football Club, Woodside has accepted the challenge of supporting local footy at all levels, from grassroots to greatness, so it can thrive throughout WA. Woodside, Australia's leading energy company. Great interview, Cod. Really
Thanks.
enjoyed it. Let's talk about that particular game, St Kilda, and his role being transformed.
Yeah, so I went to Champion Data and I said, is what I'm thinking I'm seeing, is it factual? Has he spent more time since then in a slightly different role? So they sent me the list of players that Luke Ryan has played on in the past 2 years.
So traditionally known as a bit of an intercept defender.
Yep.
Made his name as an all-Australian defender doing that. The player who doesn't necessarily get the best lockdown opponent every week, he's sort of set free to intercept and recharge.
Absolutely, and that's led to him being lots of votes in the AFL Coaches Association award. Every fantasy football coach wants him in their team.
Indeed.
He's been a Doig medalist. He was in the All-Australian squad in 23 and 24 and an All-Australian in 2020. So he had a lot of individual awards going his way. Last year, he played, when you look at the guys who he spent at least 50 minutes on in a game, these guys were the blokes he played on. Jake Waterman, tall forward. Jake Stringer, semi-tall forward. Jake Melksham played on him rather than the other way around. So,
is it negating?
Yep, negating.
Forward,
Mitch Georgiades, tall forward. Darcy Fogarty and Sam Darcy, tall forwards. And then he had one game on Ben Long. This year, he started the season on Patrick Dangerfield, obviously as a small forward, and that was the only player in rounds 1 to 8 who he played more than 50 minutes on. Every other time he was just moving around, being given different roles, mainly on smaller guys, but he was still fairly important to them as that guy who would intercept the ball or bring the ball out of the back line. Post the St Kilda game, he played in 11 opponents across those games for at least 50 minutes, and they were Jamie Elliott twice, Willie Rioli, Ben Long, Liam Ryan, Riley West, Jack Higgins, Paul Curtis, all small players.
Yes, the common denominator is they're all small or medium
Yeah,
size.
he still had a game against Jack Gunston and Archer May and Callum Brown, but predominantly he's playing the entire game on these smaller guys and having real pressure on him to do that. So he's saying, well, I'm not going to go and get the footy. I'm just going to lock down on these blokes. And there were days where it really got away from him. Like he openly said, Jamie Elliott got away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And
who got away from most players this year, it must be said.
But he was saying, well, I don't care if I don't get the ball as much. I'm going to do my job for the team. And when everyone else in the team looks at him and says, look at that, he probably has all Australian bonuses written into his contract like most players. And best and fairest, he's not going to poll highly in the BNF this year, I don't reckon, compared to what he would have in the past with that other role, because it's a different job. He certainly wasn't in the All-Australian squad, whereas he probably would have been if he was doing that intercept marking role. He's changed the way he plays, and after speaking up, and now everyone looks at him and goes, well, if he spoke up and then did that, I have to do it too.
So it's leadership outside the leadership group, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it makes other players go, yep, roles do matter. If he's someone we really, really respect and he's prepared to do it for the team, then you look at all the other players who have changed their roles slightly, and Andrew Brayshaw doesn't get as much of the footy at the moment as what he did when he was getting 35, 36 possessions a lot of the time. There's been games where he's had 18 to 25 and been quite happy with that. We've seen the forwards. Sometimes Jay Amos doesn't touch it for 3 quarters. Sometimes Pat Voss doesn't touch it till the second half. Sometimes Josh Tracy doesn't have a big game, but Pat Voss kicks 6. And then Jay Amos kicks 3. And then 2 weeks later, Josh Tracy kicks 4. They're all sacrificing for each other. That's a finals team.
Well, I think premierships are won in a selfless nature. You can be selfish in terms of how you prepare.
Yep.
But in terms of what you do for the team, it has to be selfless.
Yeah, and in the Jordan Clark quote before, he said that Nat Fyfe was another player who stood up and said, we're not going to tolerate people being individuals. And now Nat Fyfe, he's sitting there going, I'll sit on the bench for as long as you want and be the sub, and I'll come on and do whatever role you want me to do. I'm not going to force you to play me for an entire match because I'm Nat Fyfe. What do you need me to do? And everyone else looks at it and goes, here's a dual Brownlee medalist coming on as a sub.
What do you?
We'll do that.
What do you make of the links to the America's Cup and what it did for Freo and the boxing kangaroo flag and what Fremantle's trying to create here?
I love those stories. Every premiership or every finals campaign is based around a story. That's just the way sport is.
Well, clubs generally set up themes, but the theme grows as well.
Last year with Dancing on Thin Ice and Ted Lasso Believe. That was what the Brisbane Lions used. They had Believe as their banner. That was it. Run through the Ted Lasso Believe banner before the game, and they did.
And
they
the Eagles
believed.
2018 were friends,
family flags.
Flag, yeah.
Yeah, just the 3 boxes you have to tick. It's great. That's the sort of stuff that you live for as an athlete. You want to be part of something, and being part of something just brings you to joy and motivation and all those sorts of things. They're fantastic.
How do you think the backline's tracking now, entering the first final this Saturday night against Gold Coast? Are they lacking anything? I still look at it and think maybe another elite kick, maybe someone like a Cooper Simpson.
Yeah, I wouldn't be making any changes. I think their backline, their entire team has been really stable lately. They need to replace Corey Wagner in the team due to his injury.
So do you think it'd be more of a like for like?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy decision in terms of the 2 they have to pick from, which is O'Driscoll and Matt Johnson. One of those will come into the team for Wagner. So the backline, I think, it's been doing its job all year. You're not going to, Pearce, Cox, Ryan, Clark, there's your 4 best. Warner, and Heath Chapman and Bailey Banfield have all done the job. So Cooper Simpson showed some nice things earlier on in the year, but he didn't get the chance to fall out of form at any point. Was he in just good form for a couple of weeks? Who knows? I wouldn't be making any changes to that back line. You want it to be as stable as possible.
And he also had a bit to say about Brennan Cox, his relationship with Brennan Cox.
Yeah, they drafted at the same time, all the way back in 2016. So they've been there for the entire rebuild. And Alex Pearce has pretty much been there for the entire rebuild as well, given he was part of it before that. But that back line has been around for so long together, and that's what holds teams together, isn't it? Like that Collingwood game at the MCG, when they were under massive pressure, it was the backmen and their ability to relate to each other, trust each other, look after each other, stood up under that pressure. And there was the back line again against the Western Bulldogs the other week when the game was getting away from them early, who stood up and said, "No, we'll repel it back," and that allowed them to go nuts during the second quarter. So when they come up against Gold Coast, the Suns will win plenty of footy through Rowell and Anderson and Touk Miller, and they'll get it forward to guys like King, and you want to have your back line really, really stable and able to say,
so Alex Pearce
we'll
for King,
back.
I think it's a pretty...
Pearce or Cox, yeah. Pearce or Cox. They tend to mix and match depending on who they feel is the best option. Pearce is a lot taller, so probably Pearce.
I love this matchup, and I'll talk to you about who you think's under the most pressure in a moment, but... offensively, Freo ranked number 9, Gold Coast ranked number 4. This is across the competition. Defensively, Freo 7, Gold Coast 5. On turnover, Freo 9, Gold Coast 7. Ball movement, Freo's 11, Gold Coast 8. And territory, Freo's actually 9, but Gold Coast is 2 because they do get a lot of centre clearances, Gold Coast. So there's some really interesting matchups. You mentioned before Anderson, Rowell, Touk Miller, so Young, Brayshaw, Sarong, Bolton going through there. I think the ruck Witts v Jackson Darcy is going to be really interesting. There's matchups everywhere. What do you think about the matchup? And also, does it feel like the Gold Coast Suns are playing with house money now? They've got their first final. It's sort of you can throw all caution to the wind now and go for it, which would be a worry for Freo. Do you think the pressure's now back on Freo given they got that fantastic win, which was an elimination final? That was your wildcard round last week. But now... packed house, at home, expected to win. It's a different story.
Yeah, they are the ones, out of all the games, Fremantle are under the most pressure because the Adelaide Collingwood game, Collingwood travel well, have won a flag. Adelaide have never won a final under Matthew Nicks, so they've got the home ground advantage, but no one says, they're definitely going to win it. GWS Hawthorn is similar. Everyone expects GWS to win that one. Geelong and Brisbane, there's no pressure on either team as premiers in recent years, whereas everyone just is looking at this one going, well, Gold Coast have never played a final. Fremantle are at home in front of 58,000. Fremantle will win. And that's a different sort of pressure to what most people would be accustomed to. I think the crowd factor is going to really put pressure on Gold Coast, though. Like,
Well, they
the
wouldn't have played in
noise-
front of anything like it.
No. So from me to you away, they're not going to be able to hear each other,
Yeah.
and they'll have never experienced that before. Whereas the Dockers will understand, the hand signals and all the little things that you get used to by playing in front of thousands and thousands of people. Gold Coast have never seen that. A night game at Optus Stadium with 58,000. That's the sort of experience that Gold Coast will look around and go, where did this come from? Because it's not something they're used to. So that's the pressure that can come on them. And it's talk of Fremantle fans. They will be the 19th man on the field. There is no doubt about it. They can put incredible pressure on Gold Coast really early.
So
and
Gold
make them
Coast to be
buckle.
aware of that, and coached by a very experienced coach who not only as a coach but as a player, dual premiership player,
Yep.
Damien Hardwick, 3 premierships at Richmond. He knows what it takes. So he will let them, they will know what to expect, and obviously their goal will be to take the sting out of the crowd early. See
Yeah.
if they can get some scoreboard pressure on early.
It's the old saying, though, isn't it? Everyone thinks they can fight until they get punched in the face. So they're going
No,
to step out there.
I never thought I could fight.
Yeah, they're
No.
going to step out there and they're going to get punched in the face by the crowd really, really quickly. So until you experience it, you just don't know.
So I'll talk you through. So finals experience. So Gold Coast has 21 games of combined finals experience. So Rioli and Noble, possibly Wits. Just trying to think about who they're out. Anyway, certainly Rioli and Noble have plenty of finals experience. At the other end of the scale, Brisbane has 320 matches of combined finals experience. Freo has 86. So a recent participant in finals, 2022. I think that 21 is significant.
Yeah. Not having many players out there at all who
But well, look, it's not just the crowd. The crowd is massive, but I mean the tempo goes up. Everything's a little bit different in finals, particularly early in the game.
Well, it's also just the nerve factor. And so I interviewed Lockie Weller on Saturday morning, and they just come from training. He was driving home, and I said, "What's today been like?" And he said it was just meant to be a day where everyone came into the club. They'd had a couple of days off post the Wednesday win, and he said, and we were told, we're just going to have a light jog around recovery, which is what happens at every single club. He says, no one was jogging. And he said, everyone's bounding around. It's finals. He said, you could feel the difference straight away. And they're a week out still.
And the key is you can't expend too much energy, though, early. You can't
No.
play your game before it's played.
And they were buzzing coming into the rooms after the Essendon. When we talked last week about how Fremantle walked back in really calmly after the Bulldogs win, training this week, they've looked really just normal. There's been nothing finals like around the way they trained yesterday. They were at Optus Stadium today, so we didn't get to see that. But they weren't up too early, Fremantle, yet, whereas the nerve factor when you haven't played finals is you can get up, everyone's asking you for tickets. Can you get over to Perth? They're not really sure. They've got their charter flight they're going to fly on over here on Friday.
Everything's different.
Yeah.
Which is just makes it, as much as you try and say it's just another game, everything outside, all the noise tells you this is different.
Yeah, they will know it's different straight away. So, and there's lots of guys who've been around there forever, like David Swallow. Like everywhere people look on the Gold Coast within the club this week, the question is going to be, is David Swallow, our former captain, our number one draft
He's
pick,
going to be the sub.
is he going to play? And
He's
if he
gonna be the
isn't
sub.
going to play, how devastated is it going to be? Oh, but if he is going to play, how exciting is it for David Swallow? So every selection moment matters. It's for them. So it's just not normal in any way. Whereas Fremantle, the question will still be around, is it Nat Fyfe's last game? It's definitely his last game
At
in
home,
Perth.
yes.
So it's the last time for that. But they've already done the farewell part of him, and they're like, well, we want to give him the farewell tour. This doesn't want to be the farewell game. One of Swallow and Fyfe will not play again after this weekend.
Swallow, in fact, has
Has
announced
his
today
retirement
that he will
today.
retire at the end of the year. Had a chat to Bluey McKenna, which ran in today's paper. It was really fascinating on a couple of fronts. One was he was the inaugural Gold Coast coach, so he reflected on how difficult it was. And when you look back on it, he's pretty stiff. 4th year, about round 17, they're tracking for finals. This is with a team that was so young in year one. I think players playing on all Australians, and they've had 2 games experience, all this sort of stuff. And then Gary Ablett does his shoulder in round 17 of that 4th year, and there was a turning point for them. He gets sacked at the end of the year. And he sort of said, you'd look at it like a proud father, because I know I'm so excited for the players, but it's about all the effort, all the blood, sweat and tears that were put in by all the officials, by the trainers, by the assistant trainer, all of those people who had a hand in it. Now they get to see the team play in a final. But he also talked about Swallow and his legacy and being there from, foundation player. Said he, from the day he got there, threw himself at whatever the club wanted him to do. So you talk about selfless players. He certainly fits that mould. And he was saying, look, it's not for me to pick. That's Damien Hardwick's job. So I don't know what's going on internally. But he said if he's capable, and it seems as though he is, because he has played the subs role a lot this year, David Swallow. He said it would be a massive energy boost to all his teammates just to see him out there.
I think the players all want him out there, yeah.
Damien Hardwick's body language after their last game, their win over Essendon that got them through. Did you get the sense from that Swallow's going to play?
No.
You didn't?
No,
I did.
I got the sense he wants to pick him. Heart says he wants to pick him, but head might say, I want someone else. I reckon he knew in the back of his own mind that if it was just a normal decision, you go, yep. But I don't reckon there was part of him that was going, I'm not sure still. And yeah, it's so hard. Like, what people forget is David Swallow was an number one draft pick, but he went a year early. They committed to him a year before, so he played the full year in the VFL.
He did, and as Bluey pointed out, was probably on track to win the JJ Liston Trophy, which is the best and fairest for that competition. But they pulled him out early because they wanted to get him ready for his first real pre-season and then the first AFL season after that. So he said, we felt a bit bad at the time because it's a pretty good award to win the JJ Liston, but we couldn't risk it with him.
Well, so I umpired in the Waffle David Swallow's debut when he was 16 years old. For East Fremantle, out at Perth. So we went into the rooms before the game and spoke to the captains, coaches, stuff like that, and said, well, where's Swallow starting? And they said he's starting on the bench. And we went, okay, no worries. What time do you think he's going to come on? Because we're assuming...
Why are you interested in that as an umpire?
Because we need to know the 16-year-old kid when he's going to get beaten up before.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
The 16-year-old kid starts on the half-forward flank. He's getting beaten up before the game.
Okay.
When he comes onto the field, he's getting beaten up. Like you just saw that happen too often in all games of footy. So it's like, when do we need to have our antennas up for something that might be going on? They said he'll be on about 5 minutes into the game. Yep, no worries. Sweet. We'll keep an eye on it. Comes on, kicks a goal with his first kick. Mm-hmm. Captain wanders past and goes, I reckon he might be okay. I don't reckon we need to look after him. And he had an amazing game. He
played 4 or 5 games, I reckon, with East Fremantle, and that was all about, because he knew he was going to be drafted 1 with the Suns.
Yep.
Give me some experience against men. So I've got an idea of where I'm going. So again, it shows he's pretty smart.
His commitment to that club to stay when everyone else left has been fantastic. So, yeah, we just hope that both him and Fife can both get out there, because it would be a fitting way for this final to be played with the two clubs that have done the hard yards, and the two leaders of that clubs who are in their final seasons to both play would be fantastic.
Now, just switching the tempo a little bit, a good yarn from you earlier in the week. You had a long chat with Chris Sutherland, the Freo chair. Wants to shake up the draft landscape a little bit. Yeah,
so he's saying it's time to make the draft uncompromised for the entire first round. No father sons, no academy picks, and no compensation picks.
No father sons at all?
No, so he's saying if you want a father son selection, trade up to get that player. So if you think Nick Dacos at Collingwood is going to be pick 4 in the draft, then you need to trade your way up to the point where you think he's going to be selected, so you can still get access to him in that way. So he's saying you just can't do it in any other way. You have to find a way to get your pick high enough to be able to draft that player.
So, for example, if someone had said to Collingwood, you need to use 2 first-round draft picks to secure Nick Dacos, I have no doubt they would have said, yeah, we'll make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would have made it happen.
And the Bulldogs would have traded their way up to pick 2 or pick 3 for Sam Darcy.
I have no issue with it. Yeah,
Brisbane would have done the same to get Levi Ashcroft last year. But what would have happened then, if they had have traded a future pick this year and their pick last year, maybe a second round and a player or something like that, to get high enough in last year's draft to get Levi Ashcroft under a normal draft system, they wouldn't have a first-round pick this year, or probably a second-round pick this year, to be able to go and get Daniel Annabels, who is available to them as an academy player. So it dilutes your ability to just continually dominate.
And therefore equalises the competition and the whole process.
And what we would also see, if you weren't able to have compensation picks as well.
So this is the big argument. They're saying no compensation.
No compensation.
So, for example, Oscar Allen, should it go ahead and he moves to Fremantle, Brisbane, they'll get picked 2.
Yes.
They will get picked 2. He's saying, nope.
You get picked 19.
You get picked 19. So end of first round.
End of first round. And what that would do is it would force clubs to then trade. So once again, Brisbane would have to trade to get Oscar Allen instead of getting him for free because West Coast would match the pick. So if we look at what's happened with those sorts of situations in the past, Adelaide would have got pick 18 for Patrick Dangerfield when he left the club as a free agent. That is after the academy picks and father-son picks had all come in because it pushed their pick back. In the end, Geelong traded for him because Adelaide were going to match the pick, and they got 9 and 28 and a player who didn't play. But that 9 and 28 was better than 18. Mm-hmm. GWS didn't accept the fact they were going to get pick 11 for Jeremy Cameron as draft compensation. They ended up getting picks 13, 15 and 20 from Geelong in a trade. So West Coast would look at it and go, are we going to accept pick 19? No, we'll make Brisbane pay more for that. And once again, that puts pressure on the Lions, therefore, to not be able to use those early picks on an academy player or a father-son player, and that equalises the competition as well.
I'm just trying to think back to what Buddy Franklin was when he left
He was
Hawthorn.
pick 19.
Pick 19.
Because it was the pick after the club's first pick in the draft.
Yep. Which was 18.
And the Hawks had won the flag, therefore their pick was 18, so it became 19.
I have no problems with any of it, really. I think paying a premium for an absolute gun footballer, that's as it should be. So by a premium, that might mean, draft capital of 2 first-rounders or whatever. I'm happy with that. Compensation, I'm actually happy not to have any. I think you player leaves, they leave, and you do a trade or whatever.
The problem with not having any compensation is that the top teams are just tearing the heart out of the bottom teams, and that wasn't what free agency was brought in for. So if Brisbane can go and get potentially Sam Draper from Essendon and Oscar Allen this year and have an academy player as well come in the top 5, well, good luck stopping them into the future. So you need to find a way to help the bottom teams to get players.
I think more of a concern is the compromised nature of the draft.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Me. And it's all over the shop. So hopefully with the father-son paying more of a premium for academies and father-sons will help that happen.
I also think that from an academy perspective, so you look at, I mentioned to you earlier, there's a kid playing at my son's junior footy club, right, who I've seen play who's a bit older, and is going to be, he just looks to me like an AFL player in the making, right? Speed, has a step, can kick the footy, athleticism, off the charts, and would be eligible under an academy system, I believe, because I think it was his dad was born overseas.
Okay.
But he's born here and has been playing footy his entire life, and is a gun already at 12, right? Compare that to other kids who I've seen playing other sports in my son plays, and I've seen there's this one kid I've seen playing basketball who I've never seen playing in any other sports that he does, and his parents are clearly born overseas. Their English isn't great, but he's got the attributes where you go, oh, you're long, and you've got some athleticism and stuff, but you're only playing one sport. If footy was able to get him in a couple of years' time and say, come and we'll teach you the game, and turn you into a footballer, I think that's a different situation whether you're discovering someone who knows nothing about the sport as a teenager and bringing them in because their family don't know anything about it. That's different to the kid who's been doing it since Auskick.
It needs to be tightened up. So these are the loopholes the clubs look for. Just because your parent was born overseas, you shouldn't necessarily be. Academies should be for the players who are a little bit isolated, who not necessarily going to get the opportunity.
And the Kimberley.
Look, exactly.
They're the ones who need the assistance because they're never getting down here. This state's so big that good luck if you're living in Broome, in getting down to play waffle footy.
So is there an argument then if they tighten up on it, and if academies are purely for those sorts of players, should you just have full access to them?
I think the remote ones and the ones who haven't played footy until a certain point in their lives, I think they're fair enough. Go and do whatever you want.
Not your Isaac Heaney's.
Errol Gordon was in the Swans Academy from when he was 10 or something like that.
So was Isaac Heaney, wasn't he?
Yeah. So they've come through. And it's a big advantage. You teach them the way for the entire time. From a father-son perspective, I did some stats before. I went and looked at it because it is potluck, right? How many players have you got born at the right time of your existence?
So go and reel off a heap of Collingwood and Geelong names now.
So if you look at, you have to play 100 games for a club to qualify for father-son selection.
That's right.
Right. So if you look at
Dean Anderson played 99 with Hawthorn,
which
means Noah is not playing at all.
It was a bit less than 99. If you look at each club, players who were born between 1976 and 1980. Okay, so that would make them at least 49 at the moment. That's my age, and 1980 a couple of years after that. So Melbourne actually have the most players born in that 5-year window who have played 100 games, which is 14. So they've got 14 players who could produce a son under the father-son rule. Western Bulldogs have the least with 4. There's a big gap there, but the Bulldogs have already got Darcy and Liberatore.
I was about to get
West.
Darcy Mark II
or
Mark III.
So their group of players who came through and were dominant were all born a little bit before that. So they've had their wave. So Melbourne lead the way with 14. Adelaide, Essendon and Sydney are on 12. Brisbane and Hawthorn are on 11. Port and West Coast are on 10. Then Fremantle and Geelong are on 9. As the Bulldogs are on 4, St Kilda are on 7. But St Kilda have got a batch of players born between 82 and 86 who have all got it. So it's when your luck arrives in terms of how many players you have and do they have boys. And are they talented?
Well,
that's where it all comes into it. That's where the luck arrives.
Cooper Hodge may well go through the Brisbane Academy.
Could do.
You know, which, see, I can't see how that is fair under the system. But anyway, we need to have an AFLW update. Cod, this AFLW update is brought to you by Woodside Energy, a proud major partner of the Fremantle Dockers, supporting local footy from grassroots to greatness. Well, I'll start with Woolwich Marrawa. The West Coast Eagles defeated Euroke St Kilda at RSA Park. Great win on the back of Ella Roberts. Turned around a 17-point deficit into a 14-point victory. So a lot of character in that victory, so well done to the Eagles. Unfortunately, across town, you were at this game.
Before we get to that one, I think we need to stay on Roberts.
I said
to her the other
what a start to the season she's had.
I said the other week she could be the Caitlin Clark of this competition. Let's just have a look at what
Caitlin
she
Clark's
did.
a big call.
Oh, she's a star, both of them. But Ella Roberts had 23 disposals, 2 goals, 5 contested marks, and 6 score involvements.
14 contested possessions too amongst those.
In the last quarter, she kicked a goal with 5:47 left. She took the contested mark and kicked a goal with 2:44 left. She then handballed the ball out to Dalglish to get the goal with 48 seconds left. So she's had a hand in 3 of the last 4 goals. Just what she touches turns to gold. And I've said before, there was a 5-goal final term from the Eagles. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, or if you haven't rated the AFLW and have found it difficult to watch, go and watch her play, whether it's on TV or at the ground. Just watch her because she will change your opinion of the sport. She's that damn good.
Now, she is that damn good. I was at Fremantle Oval on Sunday, as were you, and unfortunately, Walyalup weren't that good.
They were that damn bad. And North Melbourne were really, really good.
Well, it's a record score, 18-6-1-1-4. It's a record AFLW score.
And a record winning margin, first team to win by 100
We will point
points.
out they are the reigning premiers.
They are the
they've
reigning
been beaten
premiers.
70 points and 100 points in successive weeks. So a bit of work to do.
A lot of work to do. They couldn't get the ball back. Like, they literally could not get the ball off North Melbourne. So it was 338 to 244 for disposals, 46 to 19 inside 50s. Freo did not get an inside 50 in the second quarter. Uncontested possessions, 213 to 131. Marks, 75 to 44. North Melbourne would get the ball and just do whatever they wanted to with it.
Yeah,
So
there were 2 different teams out there.
yeah, they looked fitter. They looked stronger and more powerful, and they were definitely more skilled. So my concern for Fremantle at the moment is I don't think they've got the running athletic power in the midfield.
So the game's shifted a bit.
It's shifted dramatically. It's opened up a lot more with them paying a lot more holding the ball, free kicks rather than stoppages.
Yes.
Lindstrom was a dominant player last year when there was heaps of stoppages. Get the ball down to
So the
players in
interpretation from
congestion.
umpires is there's it's about prior, isn't it?
It's about make sure you don't attach the footy and lay on top of it.
If even with that, you've got to make a genuine attempt, or they move the ball on quickly.
Yeah, so
which they really have to do with the AFLW.
And they're throwing it up quicker.
Yep.
So what will happen then, and we saw this with Fremantle, they won the clearances 33-25, but they were rushing the ball out and not able to have their players set up because the umpires are throwing it up quicker. So Strom wins the ball, taps it down to the midfielder who picks it up and isn't necessarily ready for where their set players because it's going up so quickly. And then you're not sure who's around you to protect you, so suddenly you're hacking it out and then the opposition get it and go down the other end. So they've got to fix their freneticness at clearance now to take advantage of what Strom can do with their
fixable.
hands.
Do they have the
It's got to be composure.
Yeah, okay. Did they have the squad to do that, though?
Well, at the moment, they've just lost by 170, so that's a concern.
Against two very good teams.
Yeah, two very good
teams. The
teams,
very pointy end of the
I
comp.
asked Lisa Webb, is this team in crisis? And she said, no, that's not us. Well, it's been you for 2 weeks. So I think they need to if you're saying it's not you, you'd better win this week because at the moment it looks like that is them and they've got to fix it and fix it dramatically or else their season will disappear like that because they're already 1-2 and with a percentage of 39, hard to get your season back on track from there.
It is. Thirsty Camel mailbag time. This week's special single fin summer ale. Camel Club member price is $58.99 a carton. Join up in store or online today. Every week we're giving away a $50 digital voucher. Thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions into TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Leave your mobile number at the bottom of your email and we'll send you the voucher if you're a weekly winner. Cod, this one from a regular, John. I like this one. After being bombarded with ear-splitting noise by overzealous announcers through the year at Eagles home matches, I have an idea for a theme round next year. How about Pot Black? In memory of the old ABC show. Do you remember that?
I know of it. I can't say I
Where
watched
the commentator Ted Lau used to whisper over the action. Announcers could whisper at the break so I can actually have a conversation with the people sitting next to me. How novel. In contrast, I went to Shark Park on Sunday to see the Mighty Demons win their first final in 28 years. And we just must send out our congratulations to our good friend Adrian Barrage, president of the Perth Football Club. I am an East Fremantle man. But even I was moved by that. A great win. The ground and atmosphere was first class and it was a really convivial, pleasant family occasion. I would urge all of the West Sport Show listeners to head on out for a finals game and waffle games in 2026. The stadiums, AFL could learn a thing or two about how things are done at the lower levels and less is definitely more. To close, do either of you have a favourite waffle ground? I have many fond memories of going to Freo Oval as a kid, sitting on the limestone blocks at the hospital end. That was in the days of full forwards such as Mark Jackson and Kevin Taylor not moving too far from the goal square. Well, it's sort of you and I are both Victorians.
Yeah, I umpire waffle footy though, so
Yeah.
I was out there for 12 years and I would go to Bassendean Oval every day of the week if you let me.
I used to like Bassendean
Great
Oval
ground.
too. Well, the gum at the river end. And
White picket fences. It's just magnificent. Loved. It had the worst facilities for us in terms of the rooms.
Media was pretty good back
No,
then.
I'm talking about the umpires. It was the worst facilities for the umps, but it was the best ground. It was such a good ground. I loved it. It had atmosphere about it straight away. So there was that. But in your favourite ground?
That would be Basso.
Yeah.
In terms of, I used to like going to East Fremantle Oval, but Bassendean, I looked forward to that trip. I just thought it was picturesque. And I just liked the footy there.
Yeah. The abuse crew, from an umpiring perspective, the abuse crew who
the
just
can bar.
Yeah, they got in trouble for swearing at us all the time. So then they changed their philosophy and they just yelled the word abuse.
Oh, did they?
Abuse, 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 and that was their way of not getting into trouble. So,
that's very clever.
Yeah, they're funny. There's plenty of good waffle venues out there, but that's my favourite. In terms of the question about the noise, I absolutely agree. You need to have the ability to feel the tension within the stadium, and as everyone hushes, and to sit there nervous, and then it's up they go. Don't need the entire.
So we've gone
music.
over the top, I think, with this, in inverted commas, entertainment. So it's loud enough. When we get breaks between quarters, can we just have a bit of peace, please, so we can talk to the person next to us? Talk about the quarter that's just unfolded. What's going to happen next? You can't do that anymore.
No.
Because it's just loud.
Yeah, and as I say, you need a sporting event should follow a pattern of tension, elation, momentum, a swing of some sort of sorts. You got some people sitting there on the edge of their seats going, "Oh, we're going to lose." Others like, "We can win this." And if you're constantly blasting music at people, you don't feel that atmosphere within the stadium, and you got to let the crowd breathe, don't you? I love Country Road. It's a great part of what's happening with footy. That's shown you don't need the blasting of the music, but when it happens, everyone gets involved. And
even with the Port before the game, never tear us apart. It's a ritual.
When Wharfie time happens with Fremantle, the crowd listens, but you can feel the change in atmosphere as a result of that.
I feel like that's really random, though. They feel like there's moments they could introduce Wharfie time and they don't.
I'd love to know who's responsible for pressing the button.
Who's got the big W button? Tell us who's got the W button.
What's the criteria for being allowed to press it?
Tell you what, don't let me near it. I'll be Wharfie time all the time.
They have done well with waiting for the right moment to press. They don't do it all the time, but when it happens, the crowd's like, "Oh, here we go!"
So was it Pav who coined it?
Yeah, it was Pav who said it for the public became aware of it through. That was on a Friday night game. I think it was against Geelong, their first Friday night game in a long, long time. And their mantra, we talked about themes. Their themes for the whole year was we are going to get down and dirty. We are the Wharfies from Fremantle. So it's Wharfie time. Put your Superman capes on, he said as well that night. But Wharfie time, that's where it's come
Surely
from.
we're going to see Wharfie time at some stage on Saturday night.
Well, it's got to be close for Wharfie time.
No. Well,
so if the Dockers fans don't want Wharfie time, Dockers fans want to be celebrating at halftime.
Oh, yeah, I know, but you can still have it. Give us a little bit of Wharfie. I want a little bit of Wharfie on Saturday night. Hi, guys. Is the AFLW in trouble? The competition is losing money, and with so many teams, the talent pool feels spread thin. Some argue the men's comp already has talent issues, and it seems even more pronounced in the women's game, at times looking like amateurs because playing as professionals. Was it wise to align AFLW clubs directly with the men's size, or would a smaller, stronger national league be better? Could a state-based system with promotion and relegation like English football with the Premier League AFLW of, say, the top 10 clubs be worth considering?
So I think
there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there is a lot to unpack there. I covered the WNBL, and so they have a different model where the teams aren't aligned. I think the model that the AFLW has is better because regardless of whether you follow the sport closely or not, you know your club is playing. And I barrack for Essendon, if they're in a grand final, I'll watch it, even if I don't watch any of the other parts.
Yeah, I
of the
like
year.
the alignment.
So
I think you have to have the alignment.
Works. It has expanded too quickly for the talent levels throughout the country, but the problem was it got popular really quickly in that first year and everyone wanted to get involved. And then the popularity, for some reason, within the football fraternity dropped off, and it felt like it was almost a bit of a novelty for people at the time. I do think that the talent of the Ella Robertses and the Zippy Fishers and these sorts of players coming through, the next elite group is really, really good, but the wave underneath them have to learn the way still. So it's hard to build your club if you don't have enough experienced players with a hell of a lot of talent. That's the gap we're seeing with North Melbourne.
And as far as losing money, the AFL is always going to throw money at this competition, as it throws money at the clubs in the northern states to try and prop them up. So I like the way they're trying at least to tweak it a bit, move the ball a bit faster, because we all want marks and goals.
Yep.
That's what we go to the football to see, is elite players, and we want to see high marks and we want to see goals.
And regardless of what's happening at AFLW level, I think that the participation levels at junior rates have gone nuts.
And I think people forget, I mean, we tend to look at the elite level, but there is such an important part of community clubs now.
Yep.
Have added a really important and rich layer to just about every community club.
Yeah, and I love what's happening at my son's club. We're at the Morley Bulldogs, and they've got a great women's program there. And the girls are fantastic. I know some girls who play
same at Mount Lawley Inglewood, just down the road.
Yeah, so I'm really supportive of what they've got going, and it requires patience. The reality is that footy in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we saw only the good highlights. No one showed the terrible games.
Oh, they're all good games.
They weren't all good games. No. I went to some shocking games of footy. We didn't watch the games at St Kilda in the mud. We watched the games.
Unfortunately, I saw a few.
Yeah, but they were not on TV. They weren't on TV the entire time. So, be patient. Pick and choose what you watch, and you'll see some damn good.
By the way, when
footy.
you say patience, don't forget there was no talent pathway as such when this was set up. So it was always going to take some time for the talent pathway to meet the actual talent coming through. And it's now starting to happen. So be patient. It's only going to get better.
As journos, if we cover the competition like an elite competition and hold them to account when they lose by 100 points and put the heat on the coach after the game and put the heat on the players after the game, and they have to accept that. That's part of being an elite competition and being respected as a genuine.
The only other thing I'd add is, in a way, don't compare it to AFL because it is different.
Different sport.
So have a look at it differently and go with those expectations, and don't go expecting to see an AFL game.
No, it's the way women's sport is played in all sports is different to the way men's sport is played, and that's just always going to be the case. So look for the differences in the game and appreciate the differences in the game.
Now, I'll finish off with this one. It's not a question. It's more of some positive feedback for us. Hi, Quarters, Cod and Mitch. I'm a long-time listener and have loved the various hosts from over the years. from downloading the Duffin Quarters podcast for the weekly drive from Alice Springs to Tennant Creek in the NT, to now enjoying you three with in-depth coverage and debates on all topics and clubs while driving through the hills in Adelaide. I haven't paid this guy, Cod. This is legitimate. As an Eagles supporter, I particularly enjoyed the interview last week with Alex Witherden and the discussion surrounding Mitch Brown's courage. These are just a few insights of an AFL club and player that we don't normally have the privilege to understand. Thank you. I now look forward to further discussions on the finals, trade, draft, and hopefully a resolution to stop the constant rule changes beyond next year. Please get it right and leave it to Greg Swan and Co. That's regards, Mike from Harndorf. Well, I reckon we've covered all of the above just in this podcast alone, Cod.
Yeah.
So thank you for the
One
feedback.
thing we haven't done is driven from Alice Springs to Tennant Creek.
No, I remember him. He used to give us regular feedback. And look, the Alex Wizard, we just played you some Luke Ryan. We will endeavour to get some more players onto the podcast.
It's finals time, so we're going to make it finals podcast, aren't we?
Cod, excitement levels out of 10?
10.
Yeah, I'm up there.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
up
finals
there.
time.
Bring
It's
it
exciting.
on.
Can't wait for it. Saturday can't get here quickly enough, or Thursday when the finals begins. But for all Fremantle fans, Saturday is when it's all about. So bring on the finals.
And I will talk to you next Tuesday to dissect it all.
Can't wait.